What's up? Welcome to a new episode of Movie Schmovie. This is episode 473. My name is Steve, one of the co-hosts of the show, and as always, I'm joined by
Ron.
Oh dear, my action has run down.
John. That's John.
Somebody needs to wind my speech up. There was another good line there. TikTok had a couple of good lines. That was, I have always valued my lifelessness. I thought that was a really, that feels like a very 2025, 2026 kind of line. And then my think works could be tighter. But yeah, here we are. Episode 473. This is our Happy New Year episode. Happy New Year to the listeners, but also Ronald, Steve, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you guys as well, to everyone. Starting it
How are
off.
the Christmases?
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
It's like chaos, but it's a good chaos. You know what I mean? It's like I'm happy that it's that chaotic, that I have that problem to deal with, if you even want to call it a problem. But you know what I mean? It's like just running all over the place and just getting everything ready, keeping the magic alive. And again, though, I'm happy to be in that phase of it all. But yeah, I always wish for a white Christmas. Didn't get it,
Yeah, we got a tease. We got like a flurry or something.
Steve, this is a weird way to find out that you're in the coke.
Yeah.
It's a very strange way to find out.
Or on episode 473, I'm like, if they're hanging in this long, I feel like I could just say it.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
well, what's sad is you've been jonesing for some cocaine this entire run.
Right. And again, like I just wish for it, didn't get it. It's just like all I can do is want, and next year will be my year, maybe.
Another year, and people ignored that item on your list.
It's weird they just skip right over it. Not
they
like
just do. It's almost like they're in denial about it or something.
No, it was good though. It's very good.
Well, we are up against Ronald's laptop battery right now.
Yeah.
So we should just jump right in.
New problem.
Yeah.
New problem. There we go.
I mean, I'd love to banter about the holidays and talk about the passage of another year and all that stuff, but we gotta get to these features. We actually have a pretty loaded show. I feel like each of these topics is like a fun expandable topic. And so we don't even really have time to do the other thing I thought we might do, which is talk about the rollout of these weird Avengers Doomsday teasers. Does anybody have a quick gut feeling about this?
They're too short. I mean, I don't have any feelings because they're too short. Like I don't. And here's another thing: don't show me people I know already. I don't give a fuck about Thor. I don't give a fuck about him. I mean, like I care about him in the sense that we've ridden with him during this journey. Right. But if any of the leaked footage is any indication, put that out first. Don't put any of this. I don't care about.
See, I don't know if I agree with the first thing you said. I don't agree with the second thing you said. I think it's significant to say these people are in this movie and Thor looks great. Sure. And the storyline of like Thor like praying for power from Odin, like it's back to a serious, more moody Thor. I'm down with that. I think the problem with that is that by the time I've seen either of these teasers, I've heard them described.
I know.
And they've been like this whole thing of it. The main topic I really was wanting to get into was that, like, I feel like this is a bungle. I feel like attaching the short trailers to 4 consecutive weeks of Avatar, Fire, and Ash, which is what they're doing. So you'd theoretically have to go see that movie 4 times in the theater to see all 4 of the trailers when they were new. But beyond that, we just got a dramatic zoom in on Ronald.
Yeah. It's getting serious.
But then what you're saying is true, Ronald. That then just getting a look at Thor or just getting a look at Steve Rogers doesn't mean that much to me because I've already heard what the teaser is. Yeah. This is the Thor teaser. This is the Captain America teaser. Right. Next is the X-Men teaser. I think if I had seen one trailer that had all those elements tied up in it, and it was a surprise to see how it fit together, I think I would be. I mean, I'm amped for this movie, frankly. I think it sounds just kind of special and fun, but nothing they've shown us thus far is why I feel that way. I feel that way just because I think they're trying to do something, and I don't doubt that they're putting everything they have into it. I will say it seems a little insecure that the first thing they did was show us Chris Evans back. as Steve Rogers. Even if it's a bait and switch and we're likely to be getting a different version than people know, I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah. There's a lot of different possibilities with which version this could be. There's even like Captain Hydra, as people call him, the sort of evil sleeper cell Captain America. We could easily be getting a twist on what we think we're getting. But what you get from the trailer is just, hey guys, please come back. We've got Chris Evans again. Is that going to work? It feels not quite sweaty, but definitely insecure.
But that's where they're at, though. Honestly, it is. That's where Marvel's at. I mean, and honestly, a lot of blockbuster filmmaking in general, it's kind of where they're at. And the ceiling is lowered, and I don't know. The state of Marvel is different now, and we've talked about that too much on this podcast, arguably. But I think it's in general, like I feel like these teasers are kind of like not registering with me that much, and then maybe it's so much because I hear so much about it, or even if I've avoided watching them until they officially release them, it's still in the air, and there's just so much. Yeah. But I mean, it's kind of like. But people are talking about it, so I mean that's kind of a part of the buzz. And I don't know, it's just I think probably like what isn't registering with us as much is what they're hoping the mainstream casual Marvel moviegoer is going to need to be reinvested in this thing. That it's like, oh, here's Captain America, here's Thor. Oh, you like the X-Men too? Like they're going to be here. It's like, and then you get into this new stuff that you're talking about. Ron.
We got the chair trailer. We got the chair trailer already. We know every human that's going to be in this movie.
Yeah.
We actually know them.
Well, didn't you think it was weird that on the Chris Evans one it said Steve Rogers will return, and then after that it said fuck Anthony Mackie. I thought that was that was kind of weird. That was kind of weird.
That was really crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was equally as offended and entertained as I normally would be about anything that happens in the world. But yeah, I'm ready. I mean, we have a year to go.
Yeah.
But if they have these things come out, it'll be cool. I don't know if have you seen any of the Cyclops portion of it?
I've seen like screen grabs of a leak, which I'm like annoyed that I've seen that so much, and I didn't look for it either. It was just right there. So it's
people
like
just drop it in the middle of random conversation.
But I mean, you're right to the point that I just said Steves. We have a plurality of Steves. This is a multiversal storyline.
Rogers,
which Steve is it? But is this Steve Hydra that we have here on the podcast? No, but I think it's like a question, kind of what you said, Ronald. We know who's in this. We know what these elements are going to be. It feels like maybe part of the gamble with this is, if I'm being cynical, and I'm assuming that they're playing like some multidimensional chess, maybe there is some calculated risk they have, and like, well, people are going to be a little annoyed. We'll attach it to this one big movie. The stories will leak. The trailers will leak. You know what I mean? I wonder if they are banking on like the viral conversation and the discourse being as important as anything they could release in terms of a trailer at this point. You know?
I don't totally agree.
I don't think studios know what works anymore. And we've seen that like people shit on Minecraft, right? Minecraft did gangbusters. Mm-hmm. It's like they don't know. I think a lot of it is like shut up and watch what happens. Because sometimes fan bases come from places where you don't expect them. It's like Weekend at Freddy's. It's like people didn't expect that to be a hit. But there's a large group of people that love those.
You mean
movies.
Five Nights at Freddy's?
Five Nights at Freddy's. Why did I say Weekend at Freddy's?
Because of Weekend at Bernie's.
That's the Schmovie Studios one. No, that's the Schmovie Studios one.
But we need to do
you leaked that information, Ronald.
We need to do a. Didn't Matthew Lillard's character seem to die in the first Five Nights at Freddy's?
Yeah.
So our Weekend at Freddy's spinoff is about Jonathan Silverman and Andrew McCarthy holding Matthew Lillard upright for a movie where he's dead, but they pretend that he's in the next one. Who was saying something? I feel like. I
was saying when I messed up a Weekend at Freddy's. Yeah, okay. Five Nights at Freddy's.
There's an audience for it.
There's an audience, and I think that what you two are getting at, and I guess Steve had started and you completed the thought, is the audience that they're trying to reinvigorate needs to maybe see a little bit of this. Mm-hmm. But they also what they need to also hear is that the people that did the Avengers movies are doing this movie. They need to hear that, because
and then don't mention any of the other movies they've made.
Like, fuck all of the. Hey guys, fuck all the Netflix movies they've done. How about all the cool? It's like
from the directors of Cherry, and The Gray Man.
There's something about what those movies did to people.
Yeah, for sure.
That they need to start trying to evoke in a lot of this marketing. Maybe they can even show some of the theatrical responses. Like it is, from what I understand, they're connecting these movies closer to the last Avengers movies that they were doing than any of the other stuff that we've seen previously. I guess the couple phases afterward. So I mean, the fact that that's a factor, I think that they need to really focus on that, because people will come if they hear that they're involved.
Right. Yeah. And if it just feels like it's the movie you got to see, like that's what they're shooting for, right? Is everybody now? Totally. I'm reminded, doesn't screenwriter William Goldman have a book about movie making called Nobody Knows Anything?
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, he does.
I've heard it referenced many times.
I just have always thought that was such a cool title, because it really does seem to describe like the wisdom behind what gets made. It's really only like in a brief period that like a thing like the MCU has this kind of reign at the box office, because most things that hit that hard are like Avatar or something where they don't come out that often, or it's more short-lived. Something like Wicked, that's two consecutive years. It's a big hit, but it's done. I mean, they're going to expand that, but it's not something where there's 3 Wicked movies announced for the next year. The MCU held on to this weird kind of constant zeitgeist conversation for a weirdly long amount of time, for close to a decade. They kind of had this ability to keep it going. We even on this show ran into, and right now in this episode, it's like this, we could easily be the MCU show. But so that conversation, I just don't think that they'll ever get that back. But I do think they can create the sense that this is a movie you got to see, or this is a movie that you want to see. So
sure.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing the X-Men trailer, and I'm also really looking forward to seeing whatever sort of trailer they put out that's actually more of a teaser for the movie, and not just for the not just saying, please come back, we've got Chris Evans, please come back, we've got Chris Hemsworth.
I am looking forward to the Gambit one, if they do a Gambit one. I would love to hear that accent.
I doubt they'll do a Gambit one, but who knows if they will heavily feature characters like that in the larger trailer, because I'm kind of wondering, like, who are they going to hype in that? It seems like they're going to hype Chris Evans and Chris Hemsworth and Robert Downey Jr. It's like, Simu Liu and Paul Rudd and Tom Hiddleston and all these other people that are in it could be like, oh yeah, by the way, they're in it too.
They're also there.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, that was our Marvel Schmarvel segment.
That wasn't going to happen, and there it was.
Yeah, there it was.
Yeah.
I introed it by saying we weren't going to do it.
Yeah.
People can play that back and watch the video and witness the moment where I changed my mind. Like in a millisecond, I decided, nope, this is timely. This is topical. This is now. But yeah, let's for a moment, let's return to Oz. Look at my image. Look at all those character designs that are accurate to the illustrations, and some of which work on film. do not look at the weird dead-eyed cowardly lion and
over your right shoulder
and Scarecrow. That Scarecrow.
Wow.
That design is one of the biggest missteps in any movie ever. No, but I remembered liking Return to Oz when I was a kid. When I saw it, I was a big fan of the Oz books. This movie actually, at its best, does recapture some of the tone, even some of the dialogue, some of the fun little odd things that Dorothy says or that somebody says. It's like little witty things that are just kind of like interesting turns of phrase. There is that sort of humor from the Oz books there. The storyline is a little darker. The look at Oz is a little bit more like dark fantasy and less light than the familiar film that everyone everyone knows. I guess that's what familiar means. But yeah, so this is a film that picks up sort of a direct sequel to the first movie, but in a way it's visually different enough. And they said they wanted to remind people of the specifics of the story of the original, but they also wanted to set out from the beginning and say, this doesn't look like the OG Oz. We're going back to the book designs. Even Dorothy's look, she's a smaller, younger kid. She's not wearing the blue and white gingham or checked dress.
Yeah.
So we have horrible dead-eyed cartoon face Scarecrow Man.
Wow.
In the drawing, it looked like maybe that face would be mobile, and so it didn't look so unsettling. But anyway, I remembered enjoying this film at the time because I was a super L. Frank Baum Oz book nerd when I was a kid, and even though I was kind of growing out of it when this movie came out, growing out of being a kid, I still was deep in that world, and I loved those books, and specifically, I love those illustrations. And often the oddest characters like Tick-Tock, the Mechanical Man, and or Clockwork Man, and Jack Pumpkinhead, and characters like that. These were some of my favorite characters from the book. So I was really psyched to see this movie when it first came out, and I think I made my family go back like a couple times or something. But seeing it now, I can totally see why no one knew what to do with this movie, because it is kind of, from an imagery standpoint, and some of the character designs, like I mentioned, particularly like the Gump, and that eerie dead-eyed Scarecrow, and the Wheelers, and Princess Mombi's Hall of Heads. There's so much about this movie that is, as you said in our text thread, Ronald, nightmare fuel. And I think that in a weird way, that's the success of the movie. But I also think I can see how it was a thing that Disney did not know what to do with. And they kind of released it like, let's just get this out. And it did
like
not
the brave little toaster.
It did not do that well in terms of box office. I think it has gained a reputation over the years, like a cult reputation. And nowadays people appreciate it for a lot of the reasons I just mentioned. So yeah, I really enjoyed watching this movie. I have in my notes written down basically a big old mess, but watchable. Like it pulled me along, and it has a cool. One of the things I think really works about it that I genuinely love is like, it's like watching a Star Wars movie when it's really kicking, or one of those types of things, fantasy storytelling where one thing just leads to the next, to the next, to the next. And you run from this place, you crash in this place, you get held prisoner, you beat that guy, you end up in the, there's the end. It's like, there's a momentum to the story that I think is fun, and it does get at that light fantasy tone that the Oz books do so well. But there's, I can see why, especially in 1985, they were like, this is too weird for kids. It's not enough like the movie that people are thinking of that it's a sequel to. How do we market this? I can see where the studio confusion came in, so much so that they fired the director, Walter Murch, after a few weeks of shooting. And then because I think Francis Ford Coppola and George Lucas vouched for him and said, and George Lucas actually said he would step in and direct if they couldn't finish, if this, like, because it was behind schedule. If they didn't like what they were seeing, that he would step in. So he was like the guarantor on getting Walter Murch back onto the movie. And if you know Walter Murch's name, he's a famed editor and sound designer and one of like the greatest working guys in Hollywood for some of the greatest movies you can think of. So he's definitely a guy who, it's very interesting that this is one of his directorial efforts, maybe his only directorial effort. But anyway, I say all that. That's kind of where I am at with this movie. There's more to say, but Ronald, I know that you'd said that this movie always creeped you out whenever you saw images from it. Had you watched it before, or was this your first viewing of a movie that starts with Dorothy Gale getting electroshock therapy?
All right, deep dive.
Easiest right into it. Yeah,
I'm a Disney kid, and I was like, what a lot of people who were Disney kids knew, but there were tiers to Disney stuff. There was a lot of theatrical stuff, but I'm gonna throw Not Quite Human out at you. I'll throw Brave Little Toaster out at you. There were movies like that. They were kind of like serviceable on VHS. Didn't quite make it to the top tier, weren't quite sold the same way. Sure. And you would see it on the Disney Channel, like sometimes. This one wasn't on the Disney Channel quite as much because it was terrifying. I gotta be completely honest with you. My mom would probably shortly show me Nightmare on Elm Street before she would show me this movie. Because there's something about the imagery in this movie that is so like nightmare fuel. Like, I can handle the idea of Freddy Krueger coming in people's dreams. And I don't know if I can handle moving around with a dead-eyed scarecrow.
You know why, Ronald? I think that is
no eyes.
It's because Freddy Krueger is supposed to be scary.
Yes. He's supposed to be a friend.
The scarecrow is supposed to be like a beloved character that when he shows up, you're happy to see him, and you just feel like, oh no.
Let's just get a headless, bodiless moose. or around with a bodiless moose with weird eyes. It's like it's stuff. It still made me feel strange as I'm watching it.
Yeah.
Um, One thing that was really cool about it, though, as I watched it, the sound design was really cool. The characters were bold, the sets were bold. Like this was a bold swing. Like it
Hmm.
felt like all of the things that I loved. I'm glad that I didn't watch it as a kid, but I'll say I kind of regret that I didn't watch it as a teenager. I was always still when I go into Errol's video and I see that tape, I'm like, nope,
Right.
nope, I can't do it. I can't do it. But I'm glad that I did finally because it would have definitely been one of those movies as a teenager and into my 20s that I definitely show people. I'd be like, "No, have you seen Return to Oz? Like, I know you've seen The Wizard of Oz. The characters are different looking, the tone is different. It almost feels like because I'm a Never Ending Story fan, it's Never Ending Story is one of those movies that I showed to a couple people, and they were essentially like, "Why did you show me this Nightmare Fuel?"
As
So like
adults.
as adults, you know what I mean? So like I guess I could say that I did watch movies that carried that this sort of tone. And like I said, I kind of regret it's not quite as dark as this, but
Yeah.
I regret I regret not watching it earlier. But I thought it was all around. It was better than I thought it was gonna be. But it was also
Worse than you thought it
chaotic.
was going to
Yeah, it was way worse. It was way worse. It was chaotic as shit.
be.
I feel like there's this delineation point though, like when you think about things like this, like kids stuff that either now as adults or even if you were a teen or whatever and had more perspective, you look at it and you say, okay, that's like scary or that's creepy. But like
Yeah,
when you're watching some of these things, especially how it's like packaged for kids, or fantasy for kids or whatever these kind of gateways into the genre type stuff when you're a kid, I think especially at certain ages, like you don't have that perspective to know that this is scary yet. And I
right.
think that, some kids are maybe more tuned into things that do scare them or that make them uncomfortable or have more of a threshold for what they can tolerate or what's scary. So I think everybody's probably experienced whether you came to it as a kid or not is one thing. Watching it as an adult, you have the perspective to say, okay, this imagery is kind of creepy. These eyes, these lack of eyes, like even just some of the decisions with some of the set pieces and the wheelman, like this, what these things look like and kind of how creepy they are. But it does feel like, when you were getting a comment that you made earlier, you know, there are so many things that tap into that intentionally. Even you mentioning Five Nights at Freddy's or Five Weekends at Freddy's or whatever you want to call it. Um, like immediately some of the imagery in this, or even just some of the stills as I'm reading about this for this episode, it's like there are even like horror series that tap into the childhood things and how creepy it is. There are movies that have been made in recent years, like Channel Zero, that first season going into like a children's show that was like, super creepy.
Yeah.
But to the kids watching it, they don't like it's not there yet. It doesn't click that this is wrong or that something looks off or that something's unhinged about this. And even like a movie like this for Disney to put this out and it to be some sort of continuation of the Wizard of Oz and that world and those characters, it's just there's a really interesting way to look at the creepy factor of this thing
Hmm.
because yes, they're being more faithful to the book and they're inspired by what these illustrations looked like and they're trying to bring them to the screen more intentionally and directly. And maybe that translation is what makes it creepy because is it that creepy in the book? And the fact that it comes to life and it's moving and it's talking and it's doing these things. I think for a child or for younger children or teens or whatever, I just don't think it probably registers yet.
Hmm.
Some things may feel off or look weird, but it is an interesting point to be like, yeah, it's nightmare fuel. But I can remember watching this as a kid and it not being nightmare fuel.
Right.
Like I can remember watching this as a kid and it being like kind of magical,
Hmm.
and even like never ending story, like these things that you look at like, wow, that is some depressing shit, or that's some really sad stuff. I just think that that's the kind of the mark of some interesting decisions in art is that, the who the audience is the target audience at least, some of these things maybe don't register the same way with, and maybe it does kind of hit the way that it's supposed to. But like a wider audience, like this movie doesn't really find an audience, and it's this big, box office failure and everything. But it finds an audience later in life. Is maybe just not really a flaw, but maybe a feature of a decision to be like super faithful to a book, and or
even just to have a tone at all, like to have a specific tone,
exactly. And yeah, it's a swing or it's a decision. But I don't know that, like, rewatching it and having that reference point of watching this a lot as a kid. Like, I watched this a lot as a kid.
Oh, cool! I didn't realize that.
Anything, yeah, no, like I, yeah, for sure have the VHS still at my parents' house in the Disney thing, the case and everything. Like, I just, the text thread, and even when you picked it, John, it's like there's so many talking points around. Like, yeah, this is creepy. It's rewatching it. Even it's like, wow, that's an interesting. Like, even just thinking things like the inspiration or the impact of inspiration of some of these characters from the book and or this film, like the pumpkin. Like, I could not help but think of like Jack from The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah.
It's just like visual things that are cueing into other things that matter in my life and in pop culture. But yeah, like I definitely had reference points for this growing up and watching this quite a bit, just because like my brother loved Wizard of Oz and I did too. But like we just always watched anything that had to do with Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
Or that world or those characters or anything. And I never, as a kid, ever remember being scared of this movie. And even talking to my mom over the last couple of weeks I like getting over there for Christmas, and I actually talked to her today. We have New Year's breakfast there. It's like we're talking about this movie tonight, like, and I don't remember like ever being scared of this, but like it's got some creepy stuff. And she's like, oh no, like we love that movie. And
yeah.
And I do, like, I really do still enjoy this movie, even watching it again. But every single thing that's been said is true on the pod. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it can all be true. And I think it is, because it is, some of it is very off and odd and creepy and like just weird. Like,
well, no, the weirdness, you're right.
Like
the pace even of like when she's falling through the sky, there's this weird dreamlike kind of speed to it that's just different. But I'll say this, I don't know if you guys watched it on Disney Plus. This movie looked great. Like, it looked really clean. Like, the transfer looked good. I was kind of impressed at some of the compositing work, like the scenes where where they're flying on the Gump. And I know that's either got to be rear projection, which typically looks better, or it's blue screen or green screen work. And the matte lines were, I mean, there was maybe one or two shots where I saw really bad matte lines, which for the time was pretty common. Like,
wild. Yeah.
And I was pretty impressed at that, the compositing work in this. And I kind of think there is something kind of, what you're getting at, Steve, is almost like the feature not a bug part of the weirdness is that it almost is like psychedelic in spots.
Oh, for sure.
And you can feel Walter Murch maybe doing something kind of like trying to do something interesting. It's really the reason I keep picking on the Scarecrow is because he's one of the few things that I think actually doesn't work. I think everything else that we're talking about is kind of a feature not a bug. I remember when I first saw it, I thought the electroshock therapy was unusually harsh, but I wasn't like freaked out by it. I just thought it was dark
That's it. It's dark. It's
and
weird.
then the other stuff was scary because it was supposed to, like Mombi's Hall of Heads. Well, she's a headless woman who changes out her heads and she
collects them. Yeah.
She's stolen heads from people. That's creepy. But when when Dorothy's sneaking through the room of sleeping heads and then they're starting to wake up, that's like a great scene in my mind. Like, that's really creepy. I love the detail that different heads remember different things based on that was the head they were using when they. I think that's great. So yeah, the cleverness of L. Frank Baum. I mean, honestly, if you dig back into these books, all those characters that have different kinds of origins, even TikTok, the Clockwork Man. This was a book in like 1904 or 1907.
Wow.
With like the first like robot automaton character that's got like its own personality and stuff. I mean, there's all kind of stuff that's like, or one of the first, I guess. So I don't know. There's a lot that's really clever and inventive about this. And I agree with you, Steve. A lot of this like is an adult's view of the movie. That's not so much saying, oh, this terrifies me, but like saying, is this supposed to be for kids? Because it's a little creepy for kids, you know? but it's not like they messed up by doing that. I think that they definitely were trying to create that tone. I think it's worth mentioning. I had a question a second ago, and I just answered it for myself. This is the only film that Walter Murch ever directed.
Wow.
So maybe maybe there's a story there too that he never got another chance. But if you look at his resume, I mean, the movies he's worked on. In fact, I have a great book by him called Suddenly Something Clicked. And it's about his work as a sound designer and an editor. In the afterword of this book, he says there's another book written basically that he's finishing up. And this just came out last year. So it maybe will be out at some point in the near future. And in that book, he says there's several chapters on directing Return to Oz. So, who knows? Maybe if I learn anything that seems really pertinent when that book comes out, we can do a return to this subject on a future episode. I will say this: I think of the effects that really worked, I think the blend of the live chickens and the animatronic Bellina, it's really good. It's pretty smooth, and there's some shots. Most shots you can tell, but there's a few shots where you have to look at it for a second to really know that's not a real chicken. I think that was a really successful effect. And I think TikTok as a character, I think they should have included other characters such as Instagram and Facebook, but I guess they just didn't have the budget to do that. But I think TikTok as a character really works on screen. I mean, the gag that he's got a one key to screw up his thinking and one his speech and one his action. I like that limitation. That feels very much like the first Oz movie where each character has kind of a limiting factor on what they can do. You know, one's cowardly, one thinks he's dumb, and one thinks he's got no heart or whatever. But I think TikTok is a pretty successful addition to that pantheon of Oz characters. So, and Bellina too. Yeah, the chicken, she's good. The Wheelers are creepy. Those little faces that they wear on top of their heads, are really creepy. That one Wheeler actor though, doing way too much in his big moment. Way too much. All right, well, let's move on to our next subject, which is Ronald, it's your pick for the next required viewing.
Oh, okay. I was trying to think of something that's a little different, and may fall into the what if this were good enough to land on someone's list. It's the Questlove directed Sly Lives, aka The Burden of Black Genius. It's on Hulu. It's about Sly and the Family Stone, and really concentrates on Sly and the innovations of his music and the culture around everything that he did. He recently passed away. That also is a thing too. So I wanted to celebrate his music through us watching something.
One of our super geniuses was Sly Stone. A
sure.
totally original guy, a bizarre man. I hope the documentary gets into it. This guy has, even his autobiography has a lot of crazy stories in it. That's like, this guy's unedited and he's telling us something nuts about his life. But he's one of those next level thinkers about music, the way he puts stuff together, and people like Prince and that on that level, I don't think you get a Prince without Sly Stone,
Right. Sure.
The funk and just the galaxy brain about putting songs together and what that's going to mean to listeners, and taking a chance on something that maybe people weren't ready to hear yet. Kind of a madman, but a great one.
Cool.
Great choice. I had been wanting to watch this, so this is I love it when required viewing lines up with something I was going to watch.
It's on Hulu, you said?
Yeah, it's on Hulu and Disney Plus, I guess, because they're one and the same now. I don't even know at this point, but it's listing both of them.
Cool.
So, moving on to our next segment, Steve, I'm going to ask you a question. Would you rather be at peace and connected to the greater hum of humanity, or would you rather have an individual personality and get to express yourself singularly in the world?
I'd probably go with the latter.
Ronald, what about you? Do you want to be you want to be peacefully connected to all knowledge and all thought, but maybe not a real person anymore, or do you want to be a real person who's extremely frustrated?
this is gonna give you an answer, but not give you an answer, but give you an answer. I can't eat edibles, so it makes me go crazy. I think I'm a part of a hive mind. So absolutely not. I absolutely will be an individual. The idea of that kind of stuff scares the living shit out of me.
Yeah, me too. Okay, so
Yeah, it scares me, man.
so we're pro Carol then in this
I think
Pluribus
so.
divide.
I think so.
As pro as you can be for Carol.
Well,
Give it the
so
circumstances.
Pluribus is the show we're talking about, the new show by Vince Gilligan, the co-creator of Better Call Saul, the best show ever made, according to me, and creator of one of the best shows ever made, Breaking Bad, according to most people.
Look,
And also a great writer and an inventive guy. If you know his work from the X-Files, I mean, this show is kind of in line with that sort of thinking. He'd been saying when he was wrapping up Better Call Saul, he was saying a couple of things that, like, one is that he wanted to write a show that didn't have an anti-hero murderous criminal as the lead, and felt responsible in a sense for part of our cultural shift towards main characters on shows that are shitty people. Like so many television shows, and I even enjoy a lot of them, but sometimes I do get tired of it when you're watching a show and you go, oh, part of the premise is that this is a terrible person and we're supposed to like them. He said he wanted to do something a little bit more positive that wasn't so crime-based, but also he really wanted to work with Ray Seahorn, who played Kim Wexler on Better Call Saul, and in a show full of great actors, really was sort of the surprise or the reveal of that show was this person who can handle so many things and became in some ways the heart of that show. And then also this idea of going back to the kind of sci-fi realm that he has always had ideas for. And supposedly he had the idea when in the midst of being that guy, you know, the guy who created all that shit, he was out for a walk one day and was just thinking, what does it do to your personality if everybody that encounters you is trying to please you? And he thought about it, and when he tried to spin it into a character, he said he was thinking of a male character, and all he could think of was just how horny and instantly sexual it would become if you were a man who everybody is doing what you want. And he said then when he shifted it to a female character, making the character a woman, he found that it was easier. I mean, I think you could do this with a male character too, but I think his point is well taken.
Sure.
That becomes a weird power fantasy really quickly if you're not careful. And he wanted to shift it away from that. And so then the idea of working with Ray Seahorn becomes this show Pluribus with the byline, the most miserable woman in the world has to say, or this most miserable woman alive has to save the world from happiness or something. But that's the premise of the show. And that didn't make any sense when I heard it as a premise. The trailers that came out were very weird. This is the kind of show where the premise of the show itself was kind of a spoiler. You had to watch a few episodes to get what the show is. And then, you know, you get to the end of a season and they've definitely set up a world with questions and problems and characters that I can't wait to see again. Rumor has it it'll be maybe 2 or 3 years before we get another season of this show.
Yikes.
I'm not thrilled about that, but I am pretty happy about the quality level of Pluribus. So we all have stated that we are anti-hive mind. But yeah, maybe Ronald, talk a little bit about the character of Carol and why some people might have some debate about whether she's another unlikable protagonist or is she somebody that we do relate to.
So I've been watching. I've been Steving it, and I've been watching a bunch of the production stuff. And the writers say that she's a shitty person. Like, they make it very clear off top that the perspective is that of someone who just isn't likable. But within that, and her interactions with the world, something kind of shaved down that idea. And you get to know why.
She definitely has, like, even her story that she was like sent to a conversion camp. She's a lesbian, and that she was sent to a conversion camp when she was a kid. Like, that alone is enough to make me say, well, this person, if they have cynical walls up, I don't doubt why for the rest of their life after that experience.
And it's you know what I think is really cool. I mean, this is that Vince thing, man. Like, even that's handled with a care that I just wouldn't have expected. Like, I don't think I realized she was a lesbian until she essentially kissed somebody. Like, I knew, but it's not, you're not hit over the head with it, and it's done in a way that doesn't feel like it's trying to hide it from you. It's just when it's written by somebody that isn't considering how someone who actually is queer moves in the world. You know what I mean? Like, it's I don't know, man. Like,
it's like a non-pandering version of that representation. and it's
Yeah,
really
yeah,
interesting because of that, I think.
yeah. All the questions that it poses, all the problems that it poses, makes me feel like happy to be alive, happy to be able to watch something like this, happy to be
Happy to have
present.
people to talk to who are people.
Yeah, like I'm
Even
serious,
the
man. Like
annoying
this,
fuckers that I know, I suddenly treasure more.
man. Like this show is, it's one of those awakening sort of shows. It's done so well. It makes you pose so many questions about like existential questions
Yeah.
that it really, I watch it and almost feel like the same sort of feeling that I felt when I'd watched like um what's the name? Well, another Apple TV show.
Severance.
No, the coaching show.
Ted Lasso?
Ted Lasso. That's how I would feel after watching the episode of Pluribus. Like it would make me feel like, it's almost watching the Grinch that stole Christmas, like seeing joy come in these little spurts for her makes
Mm-hmm.
me happy. It's
Yeah.
Yeah.
like because you realize that it must be something to this. It must be something. She's not just being cynical for a reason, for just the arbitrary reason. Like she really does have concerns about the world. She really does have concerns about this uniformity that exists. And it is really creepy to watch everybody move in unison. And
Mm-hmm.
then for 1 second, hand you something and then get back to the rhythm of stuff. I watched the coordination coach that they use. It's like essentially like a dance, man.
Yeah.
It's like,
What's cool,
Sure.
Ronald, is I love that I've seen an interview with the same person. I love the detail that they don't want people to be in lockstep unison. They want it to be off a little
yeah,
bit. And so getting it to where it's all together, but it's not like they're still people that are moving
right,
slightly differently, but the mind behind it is able to mobilize at 1 second.
right, right, right.
It's such a tricky concept. And I think the cool thing about it, don't you love the way that it's not a mystery box? It's not a show that like is making you think there are. There are twists coming, but the
Sure.
Yeah, yeah,
twists are
for sure.
not the concept. Or there's. I don't feel like we're not being told what's going on. Like the rules. Like Carol keeps the secret whiteboard of everything she knows about these people that are in this hive mind. And it's like those things seem to work. It's like there's weird loopholes. There's a moment where she finds something out and she says, "Oh, well, good to know all the lawyers are still alive." Because this hive mind, it can use like wiggle words and avoid questions. But generally,
Yeah, yeah.
it can't lie about direct questions. It's not going to hurt you. It can't hurt things or kill things. It's like those rules feel sort of arbitrary, but when you see the story roll along, you see that leads to these quandaries of to me, the most toxic thing about them is that if you challenge them, they go into a seizure that potentially kills millions of people.
Yeah, that's
It's
crazy.
Yes.
that's like you're the most toxic creature in the world if I can't get mad at you without you going and like people are dying. Like that's like the way that it keeps Carol kind of in check in a way that feels like that's one of the most nefarious things. And then this whole issue of consent around converting you, all that stuff
I
is
hate that. I
is really
genuinely,
tricky. Yeah.
like the season finale part, like I was genuinely angry at that part. When she's kind of asking her and it all kind of unfolds. I don't want to give
Yeah.
that part away, but like
Right.
as it unfolds and you can see her heart breaking, man, it's like, God, like no one deserves that.
Yeah.
That was rough. I was like, oh God. Vince Gilligan and his writing team knows how to tell a good story. And I'm hooked, man. This Apple is making quality shows at a clip that I can't compare to anything else.
Well, they're
It's
spending
that.
a little bit of money on this one too, and you can
Yeah,
see it.
yeah,
Every
yeah,
episode
yeah,
has something that feels big that they did.
yeah,
Like, and
yeah,
a lot of
yeah.
it's done like when you're talking about a crowd of people doing something like those. They're not using a lot of digital effects to cover that stuff. So they are trying to show you like create interesting visuals that are, I don't know. It's like there's a lot of money being thrown at this concept.
Yeah.
Steve, what's been your
Like that.
experience? Oh, go ahead, Ronald.
I was gonna say the Ice Hotel. Like what an arbitrary thing to build, but they just built it for like one scene.
Yeah.
But I guess it was like an important connection sort of thing for a memory. But geez, like they said that was all like carved out of a clear plastic, and it looks. Yeah, there's a lot of money being thrown at this thing for sure. But yeah, sorry, Steve. What do
I
you?
was just going to say, Steve, yeah, what's been your experience as you've been rolling through the season watching Pluribus?
I mean, just how unique it is. I think that was my thing from the pilot episode. It just seemed like something that was, well, specifically that one, it's just kind of like it hooks you, and immediately I think it's one of the best first episodes that I've watched recently. But yeah, just how unique of an idea it is. The characters are so unique, and especially the fact that you really only have, I mean, really 2 to 3 max characters that you're really focused on, whether it's Carol or this hive mind thing, or I can't remember the guy's name that ends up coming to her at the end.
Manusos. I love Manusos.
Manusos. Just the idea that, you have a very focused variety, and even the characters that we meet throughout the season that, weren't affected by this change that happens. Those characters are even pretty unique and as people, and also just in kind of how they're dealing or coping with this change. Everybody kind of is addressing it differently than others, and Carol specifically has her very own way to confront it and try to solve it. And I think my biggest thing for the whole season that I loved was kind of like the ebb and flow of where she was in her feelings about the question that you asked earlier, John. It's like, do you want to be this individual, or could you be lulled into this sense of, combination and harmony, and like we can all have it all, when she starts to kind of experience that later in the season and is kind of like checks out of it in a moment when she has that realization. But I just think in general, like, it's such a unique show and has such a unique idea of what it's trying to show, that I don't know, I just like it feels kind of special in that way, is that it's a cool idea for a show. The people in the show are very different and the characters are different, and it's representative in a lot of different ways, but that it also like is, hold on one second, buddy, that it's kind of like wrestling with this big world galaxy, big brain idea, but it really just kind of comes down to like an individual. I love that kind of juxtaposition in the scope of the story and like the idea it's trying to challenge you with, but also like, that it all comes down to Carol. You know what I mean?
No, it is like a huge idea in that sense, because it's literally about the whole world. Like when the hive mind is speaking, we're literally hearing the world. Like that's everybody except for 12 people.
Yes. And how do you feel related to that when they say like the person that used to occupy this body's name was, that makes me feel crazy. Like sad and interested, and it almost seems like you can hone in some of that personality.
Yeah, the question of can you go back is interesting.
Yeah.
Can you go back? But I think about technical processes where you can't undo what's been done. Like if you've ever been working on a document, Ronald, creating edits for this show or a podcast, you can go in and do a bunch of edits, and then you'll get a weird message from your app you're using that says, one of the files has mysteriously changed length. Do you want to go ahead? And you're like, I don't know what that means. And you click yes. And then you realize, oh, wait, something happened. It rewrote the files in this document with a file that's shorter, and then you can't go back. Like sometimes something goes wrong and you can't go back. Like you could only go forward and re-edit again, but there's no way to, even if you've got your project file, you can't relink the proper files to it anymore. It's like that happened to me recently with something, and it was a major headache. But it's like that made me think about this idea of once you've been connected to the hive mind and you've uploaded to like some server, can you disconnect from that? Like I think obviously the show has got a couple seasons to deal with that. Like inevitably, I feel like at some point we're going to see somebody get dehived, and we're going to see what that means to them. Is it like now they're miserable and now they're tortured, or are they glad to be back and they say, oh my God, it was like I was trapped. Like who knows? We don't know yet. And I think that that's where the Vince Gilligan of it. It's not a mystery box show, but that he likes the writer's room, and that in his shows he likes to discover things as they go. And And I guess just on the off chance that people haven't watched the show, we won't say what happens at the very end of the season. But at the very end of the season, Carol shows up with something that is so intriguing as a notion to the story as to how it might be used. And I don't even know if she means what she says literally when she says what she has. She could mean this is big and it's going to have an effect, or she could literally mean she has what she says she has. And like the writers they don't know what they're going to do with that yet. They don't know yet. And I think that's the danger and the pleasure of a Vince Gilligan show is that they have an idea of the arc of the show, they have an idea of where they want it to end, but they don't have it all on rails. So they're going to discover as they go, like some of the stuff like you were hinting at, Steve, just some of the permutations of this big idea when you put it down on a personal level, you're like, oh, there's a lot here. And there's characters we haven't met yet that we know are out there. And I don't know, there's just an intriguing kind of show to say that these are not evil characters. They're not aliens. They're not robots. I'm not saying it's the first time we've seen a hive mind, but I honestly think it's like the first time I've seen it pulled off quite like this. It makes you think about so many things that it could be a metaphor for, you know? And I think that's totally, just really rich from a science fiction standpoint. But as we're kind of getting at here, the emotional content, like what Carol is going through, what she loses at the beginning of the show, you know, she's going through a trauma. Even if the world didn't change in this way, she would be going through a major trauma because of what happens to her personal sphere at the beginning of the show. So yeah. And Ray Seahorn is incredible.
She's incredible in it, man.
Did you hear about Bob Odenkirk calling her after he'd seen a few episodes of the show? He said, because he was worried about her. He said he watched the show and he saw how much work it must be because of just how she's basically in every shot. And he knows how Vince Gilligan works and how much effort's being put into that. And he like called to check on her, just make sure she was handling it all right, the workload. And, you know, I find that really interesting because obviously he experienced that on Better Call Saul. Like the work they put their actors through, there's a lot. You have to do a lot. When they're shooting one of those crazy montages where you're like digging a grave or paving your backyard or whatever, it's like the actor basically has to do that shit.
Yeah. And she has like 80 of those.
Yeah, right. Every episode is at least one of those.
It's exhausting. It looks exhausting. Even just the idea of like going into a supermarket and by yourself for it's all that just very somber, isolated incidences that are pretty amazing. And we've seen a part of this hive situation. We've seen one person who wasn't a part of the hive mind join the hive, which is also scares the living shit out of me.
Oh yeah, at the beginning of the finale, and that scene you can view that scene in so many different ways. Like depending on how you feel about it, you can view that scene as not seemingly that horrific, or there's several things in that scene that seem horrific if you're really looking at it that way, of like, oh my gosh, this person went from being an individual who loved certain things and had certain preferences to just another facet of this same being that seemingly can only experience, like there's peace, but only peace and happiness can be experienced in a strange way by this person. Have you ever been around one of those people, Ronald, who's so centered that they don't seem to care about like human feelings as much? You know, those people who are so like, well, life will come and life will go, and I am a leaf on the wind. And you're like, oh, I could never hang with someone like that too much because I need somebody who gives a shit. I need somebody who's got something in the fight in order to relate.
I may have mentioned this before, but I have a friend that's a Buddhist. And I don't know if all Buddhists are like this, but one of the things that is part of it is the like lack of connection to anything. So if you'd ask him about a single thing enough, he'd be prone to give it to you. So like, say Steve, you like talking, you're like, hey, man, I was thinking about getting this MacBook. And he'd go, do you want a MacBook?
Right.
Like, why? He unhook it and give it to you. He's like, I don't have any. I'm like, I would want you to have a connection to this thing, but he's like that, and it is this scariest thing in the world to experience when it's happening in real time.
Yeah,
and I you know, he's gonna know who he is. You know, he's gonna know that I'm mentioning him because he's one of the few Buddhists that I know. But yeah, scariest shit in the world, watching somebody instantly disconnect from something or instantly not feeling it. He's like, I don't really have any I was like, when's the last time you think you were mad? He's like, mad, like at a human? I was like, what are you talking?
Like, no,
Yeah,
your
so
computer.
yeah. So that's
No, but that's kind of
it's
what
an
I'm getting
interesting.
at. It's like I can admire that, the purity of that, but I also find it kind of like it's like I don't know. Maybe I guess I'm in love with the messiness of people. I'm in love with
Me too.
the excitability and the danger of human interaction. But yeah, great show, and I mean, I'm looking forward to more. But yeah, it does sound like they are beginning to start the writers' room for the next season, and yeah,
Oh
they
goodness.
just don't work that fast. So it'll be a while before we find out what Manusos and Carol do with that item.
That item.
Well, we wanted to also in this episode talk about the other big pop cultural discussion that's going on right now, which is the Stranger Things final season. Now, Ronald, you have a computer laptop battery here that might die any minute now. So let's get your thoughts
Yeah.
first, just in case you have a technical apocalypse and we no longer hear you on the show today. So like, yeah, what Stranger
Um,
Things season 5, maybe just talk a little bit about what your overall feelings about the series are, because we just saw it end, and also get into maybe some specifics here. I would suggest that probably this topic, we're not going to like spoil everything, but I don't think we should shy
yeah.
away from things that happened or didn't happen. So I would say don't listen to this segment if you didn't watch Stranger Things season 5. We should be able to
Okay.
speak freely about whatever happened in the show. So here we go.
Yeah.
Ronald, thoughts?
I love Stranger Things. I don't. I realize that of the three of us, I talk about it the least, but I do love Stranger Things. And I think that one of the reasons why I don't talk about it very much is because I don't know, man. It feels like such a part of my life at this point. Like it was like it was, it's the first streaming show that I was like, this is original. I love this. I cannot stop watching this. I love the characters. I don't know what the fuck's going on with this world. What is the upside down? All this stuff. Um, but what I did not realize was just how much I was going to cry in season 5.
Mm.
I don't know if you guys kind of ran into that, and it wasn't even,
Oh
believe it
yeah,
or not, it
I
wasn't
even
even
realized
emotion.
it. I even realized I was going to cry, and I still cried a
Yeah,
lot.
it wasn't even at the emotional beats that were supposed to make me cry. Sometimes it just
Yeah.
be like the scenes where it was like a memory of 11 and then showing them all small.
They were
I was like,
babies,
damn,
Ronald. They
they
were
were
babies.
babies.
They were so cute. They were little.
Babies.
They looked like Funko Pops.
I forget that Mike is Mike. He looks so different.
Yeah.
I mean, or that Will was Will, but especially Will. Will looks the most different to me.
I think
And
Mike looks crazy because he's like such a lollipop, big head, little body. But Dustin
yeah,
is the one that trips me out when you see season 1 Dustin, and I think 11. They both are just basically like little kids. They just don't look like.
yeah,
They don't even look like preteens. You know.
yeah. Dustin kind of looks like a demagogue, but that's neither here nor there.
That's cold.
But but you're right. Like the beats of this show, because they're battling a bunch of stuff, and one of them is growing the fuck up. It's like it's a thing where, especially towards the end, man, I was bawling. But yeah, I think this build up. I know that a lot of people didn't like some of it. I didn't really have much to complain about. I
I
thought
didn't
that
either.
what happened was so fucking cool. The fleshing out of Vecna, um, even creating some sympathy for him for a slight second.
I love that, Ronald. I love the bait and switch of what they did there, because
Oh my
we've
god!
seen the bad guy becoming. Oh, now
Yeah.
now the young child is free, and he's going to help them fight the ultimate evil. I love that
Yes.
he did that thing where he said no. It reminds me again of the
I
Walter
love
White
that part so
moment
much.
at the end of
Yes.
Breaking Bad, where he says to Skyler, "I lied. I said I was doing this for my family, but there's a point where I was doing it because I liked it." And I loved
Yeah.
when Henry Creel says. No, I chose this. I chose to unite with this evil because I liked it. That was
Yeah.
so much more
Yeah.
powerful than seeing him like fight alongside them or whatever somebody might have done. I don't want to. I like villains to be villains. You know, I think the redemption arc for the villain. I think that happens too often. Like sometimes you just want a bad guy to go down swinging as a bad guy.
But it also said something about trauma. I think sometimes people think that like a lot of the times like trauma is like this sweeping thing. Like this happened to them, and all actions after this point are nothing but the trauma acting on top of the pain.
Mm-hmm.
That's not always true.
Right.
Some people love being fucking evil people.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll say that in front of a group of people. They're like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, some people like being bad. Some people like terrorizing people. And Vecna happens to be one of those people. He not only likes torturing people, he likes torturing kids.
Yeah, that's what I was saying with Nikki and
That's
Henry.
crazy.
Was it like he's not just evil, he's like such an asshole about it. Like he's a fucking dick.
Yes.
He picks on vulnerable people. You know, that's the thing that's like especially mean. If you look at everybody he killed over the course of the show, he sought them out because he thought they were weak or vulnerable, and that's really cruel. Yeah,
Mr. What's It? Also, by the way, what a fucking cool name.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there's like this. They've done this thing where like he went from kind of a horror icon, you know, because I was saying that like he's up there, to becoming this like it's stamped from me.
Mm-hmm.
If I see people dressed up as Mr. What's It or Vecna or, you know, Patient 00, Patient 1 or whoever the hell he's going to be, whatever 3 versions of him, maybe they'll combine the 3 because that's what people like to do.
Mm-hmm.
This is really pretty amazing. Okay, then the friendships broke me, man.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it is about this season. I think it's just getting older and everything happening in my life, the personal stuff going on. You just want to have these lasting relationships with people, and seeing, oh man, new characters becoming heroes. Holly, look, if this were rookie of the year.
You know, Ronald, they did a great job of doing something I didn't even want them to do, which was bring these younger kids. Like when I saw that storyline building, I was like, oh, this is the last season. Are we really going to do that thing where we spend time with all these new kids and literally the new kids on the block? And they were hanging tough, it turned out in the end, which I found to be really moving. But like by the end of the season, I loved Holly. I loved Derek. And I even found the stuff between Max and Holly. Like I have a little bit of a hard time when something's happening inside an imaginary world, I start to go like, let's step outside of somebody's mind and have something that I know what's happening. And I wasn't in love with it when we met up with Max, and like this season. In fact, I would say this: most of my criticisms that I was building in the earlier episodes, they fixed. They answered those questions. They made it work. They did something that paid it off. And I think particularly like the Max and Holly stuff, which at the beginning of the season, I was like, are we really going to spend like a third of this season dealing with these characters in this setting? And by the time we got to the end, not only did I think it worked and it was good, partially because Sadie Sink is a fantastic actor. I mean, honestly, one of the best actors on the show, I think. But also incredible. They made that stuff great. Like by the time we got to the end of the season, I was just as interested in what was happening in that realm as I was in the other realms, because the story does have like 2 or 3 different realms that it's taken place in. So I think, Ronald, you're right. Like they took the risk of rolling in a new set of characters, and it didn't feel at the end like they were taking screen time away from my favorites, which is always I always remember the last season of Buffy, they were debating whether they were setting up a spinoff or an 8th season with these like younger Slayers. And so they spent a lot of time in the 7th season of Buffy, like building up this stuff that I was just like, these characters ain't cutting it for me, and I'm not seeing the characters that I love anymore as much. And so it didn't work, and I was a little afraid of that in this, but I think they kind of, in one of the many ways they stuck the landing was by making Holly the heroic, one of the highlights of the season for me. I really liked her work.
And Derek, like going between being a little shithead and
oh my God,
being the sweetest little kid in that show, man, like going in and out of this.
That's so like, real, though, Ronald. That's so real that you would have a sweethearted kid who is a little shit.
He's a little shit, man.
Suck my fat
fucking middle finger, except that fat one and run it away. Okay, so man, and then all okay, that's I liked it.
Yeah.
I want you guys to talk because I have some. I want to hear what you guys say in the mail. I'll
Yeah.
insert
Yeah.
10 out of 10 for me though. This fifth
Well,
season,
well, maybe just before you pass the talking stick, as our friend Bob
sure,
Rose
sure.
says, he says we're very good at passing the talking stick on this show. Um,
Oh, it's
um,
very sweet of him.
yeah. The what's your favorite like pairing or favorite character through line of the season, if you can name one?
Um, man, I don't want to get the other name wrong. Steve, and what's the other guy's name? The weird one.
John or
Jonathan.
Jonathan. And the reason why is I love the idea that like you don't have to like me and I don't have to like you, but something about us is magnetically connected. We're connected forever.
We're
I don't
Nancy's
know.
boys.
Yeah, there's something that I don't know. Something about that made me really emotional.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, it's like you know, I I don't like you, but I love you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's I know that feeling like the back of my hand. Like there's just people who are like, oh, this motherfucker's gonna here he goes again. But if anybody ever challenged that person or tried to harm that person, I punch him in the center of their face.
Well, there's that thing of like he's an asshole, but he's our asshole. There is a little bit of
Yes.
that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I'd say, I mean, just because I wasn't expecting it.
Mm-hmm.
And then Holly and Derek, man. I
Yeah.
mean, like, I just they
They earn it. At the end of the season,
they
they seem like they're friends
yeah,
now, and they've totally earned that. You totally believe it.
yeah. I just wasn't expecting it. I'm coming in the season thinking, oh, here's some new people. And Holly existed. I've seen, she's existed in the world.
Mhm.
But to have somebody step up in that way and become likable to the point where, like, if I saw Holly in a spinoff, if I saw Nancy in a spinoff, Nancy's supposed to get a spinoff or something.
Well,
All
there's
right,
talk of a spinoff, but nobody
talk
knows
of a
what it
spin.
is. Yeah. I think
I'd be
Nancy,
really
I saw the Nancy thing referred to as a spinoff. I think it's just a novel. There's like a book that's about
okay.
her. But like
Gotcha.
there is talk of some kind of spinoff the Duffer Brothers are doing that's set in a different town, different
Okay,
circumstances. You can see how this show has a few threads that could lead to that. Like the
gotcha.
military thing or Murray. There's different characters that I could see being part of a spinoff like that. But they've said the spinoff they have in
Yeah.
mind does not intrude on the resolution or the characters or anything from this show, which I think is smart because this felt
Okay.
like an ending.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Steve, what about you?
Um,
Ronald, did you have more to say?
no, no, no. That's all I have to say.
Steve, what about you? Maybe start with like the character, like the pairing or the
the
plot line
choice. Yeah,
that really kicked your ass the most.
honestly, like I mean, my gut says I'd go Dustin and Steve. I mean, because they've always been two of my favorite
Yeah,
characters in the show,
yeah.
like through the series in general. Um, so I guess I would go with them because I just yeah, I've always loved their kind of like they are two characters that wouldn't end up being so strong in the series together, and it worked out that way. And I think that especially carrying between 4 and 5, like the seasons, where Dustin is and or where their friendship is in the beginning of the season, I think is really special. And navigating that is a challenge, and kind of
Yeah.
watching or being able to see that navigate it was really nice, especially like to your point, Ronald, like Steve as a character is one of my favorite characters period in the show, but it's also like he's got something going on with Jonathan as well, this season that is figuring out. But meanwhile, like the kid he cares most about, he can't figure out either because he's
Yeah.
grieving something that he can't really relate to because he doesn't know how to help him. He can't seemingly help him because Dustin's grieving in his own way. I don't know, that stuff all worked out for me really well. And like their big scenes together when they were in Hawkins' lab in the Upside Down, and that stuff was all really good. Like kind of when they came back up and had like a cool moment when Steve comes up with the plan and all that stuff. I just thought that was all great. I kind of was happy with where they ended up. And the other one that I would pick if there was a second place would probably be Hopper and Elle. And I think it's just
Um,
I just think that the characters, I guess specifically the Hopper to Elle relationship of that duo has always been pretty great in the series. And I think David Harbour is a really good actor. And I think that like anytime he has a heart to heart with Elle, and anytime something is calling back to, his daughter that died and his relationship with her, with Elle, and kind of like the father figure that he is to her in, or he becomes to her in the series, I think is like really deep stuff and really rich material. And I think he does a great job in those sequences. Even though there's maybe some parts in this season that I felt like were a little didn't hit as well for me, but specifically in the finale, there's some really great scenes between the two of them that I thought were just incredibly emotional. Like I was a mess, specifically with one
yeah.
of them. And they just work really well. And I think that like that parental child relationship more than anything in the show, even Will and Joyce, I think the Hopper 11 parental that is not even really parental is some of the strongest kind of that dynamic in the series. The two that really are the most broken, arguably the most broken lead characters in the series kind of have that relationship, and that they kind of find each other through this parental childlike bond. And I don't know, just that stuff is great to me, and it worked out really well for me in this season. I guess especially because like in the the season prior, they're kind of they're separated the whole season, for the
Yeah.
most part. And to have that kind of be challenging at times but also like really rewarding and emotional in the end, I thought was really great. So yeah, Dustin, Steve, and then probably Hopperell would be my tops.
And then in general, Steve, I know that you might be. I mean, if Ronald says he's the one who talks the least about it, I think you might have been maybe the bit. I
Right.
mean, I've been into it a lot too, but
Yeah.
you've been one
Yeah.
maybe our most vocal enthusiast. Like talk a little bit about just what it feels like to say goodbye to this story that we've been sitting with for about a decade.
Yeah, honestly, like John, you're probably Better Call Saul is probably the best show ever. Like you said, according to you, this
Hmm.
is one of my favorite shows ever. And uh, I think the series as a whole will forever be one of my favorite TV shows ever. Like it has been to this point, and it's so rewatchable, and it's so just like, again, I've said it many times, but it just checks so many boxes of the things that I feel like I have an interest in, and that kind of make up me, and things that I love. The horror, the sci-fi, the fantasy, the family, the friends, the adventure, the heart, the scary. It just had everything for me. And I think this season has a lot of everything too. And I think there were some pretty high highs in this season for me. Some of the series highest points maybe.
Hmm.
And there was some stuff that, just didn't fully work for me, but overall, like the season itself, I thought kind of works, and it leveled out, and it kind of went above any kind of like average level for me to something very good, if not as I sit with it more, something that I probably loved. To mention really quickly, I went and saw it in the theater, the
Oh, cool! I
finale in
bet
the
that was
theater,
great. I bet that was great.
Oh,
which was amazing. It was a sold out theater at an AMC. A crowd as excited to see it as I was, or as we were, the people that I went with. And that was just really kind of wild and awesome, just to see it on a big screen like that. Especially the finale has the biggest, largest scope stuff the series maybe has to offer, and some of the more, heart rendering and wrenching stuff that the series has to offer. So it's cool to see that on a big screen, and that just added to it for me. But I just think that the season as a whole starts off really strong. I had some, we talked a bit on our thread, like some of my nitpicks with the second volume,
Hmm.
but still feeling like it works. Um, but there's just so much to do, and there's so much going on with this show, and there's so many storylines and plot lines and characters and relationships that you care about. And I think all that stuff considered, in the end, I think the finale was pretty great, to be honest. Like
Yeah.
it's a very high mark for me. Perfect, no. A train wreck, absolutely not. Like that some people might be saying it is.
right, right.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's other better examples of that in modern series finales, but like it works. And there's there's so much emotional connection to these characters. Yeah, the idea of like losing emotional control watching a TV show in a theater was kind of like a surreal experience, because it's like I can do this in the privacy of my home, which is what I've always done with this show, and it's made me emotional. And you guys know, like I wear my heart on my sleeve, cry at anything, but the ability for this finale to kind of the characters to get moments that you've wanted for them, for storylines to get attention that you've always wanted, and just to say goodbye to like something that meant so much to me for a decade. And I'm not like a kid watching it, when it started. I'm an adult who just loves this kind of stuff that grew up in that time. This is kind of showing and kind of paying love towards. So it's like it's saying goodbye to something that is like a big part of my childhood and that I can relate to some of the experiences they had in this show. But that thankfully came into my life as an adult that, I got to relive that through this show and kind of enjoy that and indulge in that. And, and going forward, I can't wait to watch this show with my kids.
Yeah.
I'd be lying if like, over the last month and a half or whatever, or I guess month, it's like, it's been contagious in my house. Like my kids are so interested in whatever Stranger Things is because Aaron and I have been talking about it. We got them some of the plushies for Christmas. Like the Care Bears came out with like a series. We got like a Demogorgon Care Bear and a Eleven Care Bear and all these things. And like they love it because they know that I love it and that mom loves it. So that's something too. Like I'll be able to revisit this kind of thing with them when they're old enough to really get it and watch it. But very thankful for a show like this. Again, the series I've loved for a decade, and the last month has been really exciting to watch the final season in the chunks that they've released, and especially to be able to watch the finale in the theater was just pretty awesome. But yeah, really, really big fan of it. Very high marks for me. And like again, I feel like the more I sit with it, it'll probably grow in my feelings and my estimation of like how I feel towards it. But just a really special show, and just really thankful to like have all those characters that you can talk about and look back on and rewatch and just like I don't know. It's a really cool show, really special show.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would say the same thing. Like my family has been watching this show like since it came out. Shortly after it was out, I took a chance on my son not being too like he was 8, I guess, when it came out. Yeah. So I took a chance on him not being too young to watch it, and he loved it. And when he finished watching the finale today, he was kind of like walking around and kind of like processing. And I was like, so what do you think? Because I had watched it for the second time. His mom and I watched it last night. He was out with friends, as you properly should be on New Year's Eve. But he was like, that's my show. Like, that's it. That's my show. And I said, what other things have you ever felt this way about, that you've been with them this long and they've ended? And the closest he could think of was Endgame. And he was like, they obviously didn't stop making MCU stuff after Endgame, but he said the feeling of an ending of a story that he had been following, that was the closest he could think of. And even that wasn't the same. And I think, Better Call Saul is one too. Like that's it. Like when you step back and you realize like you don't really want them to feel like they have to show you these characters again. I could totally imagine in a decade or something, if they haven't come back to these characters, it would feel fun to maybe update our idea of what they've done or see these kids older or something. But they really did, stick the landing in terms of ending that, like you're talking about, Steve, this thing that we've been with all this time. And I mean, there were certain parts about that finale that were just seemingly like when the Pixies needle drop. I turned to Nikki when that happened and I said, oh, they're trying to specifically murder me. But with this show, like that was so meaningful to me because 1989, that was when that stuff was coming in, that kind of alt rock stuff was filtering in and it was becoming something different. But between Bowie over the end credits, Pixies needle drop to signify 1989, Prince song, you get two Prince songs. I mean, they were really laying it on thick with things that I love.
Yeah, dude.
And the 80s of it all, the John Carpenter influence, the Stephen King influence, the Steven Spielberg influence, it was all just like, and I know people talk about this show being just a nostalgia thing, and I'm kind of glad we've just talked about our feelings. we could have done a whole different segment reacting to what I think are some of the brain dead takes that I read about this show.
Sure.
I think there's a lot of like people that don't pay attention to things and then just complain about shit and that they don't know what they're saying. Like the show, they'll say, "Oh, this didn't happen," and you're like, "That actually did happen," you know?
Yeah. Weird that you say that.
And so many people are saying, "Oh, at the end, it was all just a D&D campaign. That's so stupid." And it's like, no, that's not what the ending revealed at all. But so I'm glad that we've just been talking about the show, because I think sometimes with stuff like this, because I'm plugged into the online discourse about it, I'm so aware of just people that are haters that still for some reason feel like they have to watch it. And also people that just don't know what they're talking about, apparently about any pop culture, but specifically this show. And yeah, I agree with you, Steve. Not perfect, but it is interesting how much by the time we get to the end of the season, the stuff that I didn't love has like a reason behind it. Like particularly early on, I did not like Dustin and Steve not getting along. I did not like Steve and Jonathan fighting over Nancy. This stuff felt like these characters were backsliding, and I didn't understand why they were doing that. And all of that stuff had a reason and a rhyme to it by the time we get to the resolution of you guys mentioned Dustin and Steve already, but the resolution of their fight, when on the one hand, you have Dustin tearfully saying, like, what happened to Eddie? I don't want it to happen to you. Don't let it happen to you. That killed me. And then for Steve to call Dustin his best friend, it was just like...
It was amazing.
I mean, and then the hug they have, and Joe Keery plays these moments. He did it with Derek too, where he's hugging somebody, and he's kind of like, "Okay, bud, okay," and it's just such like
it's so comforting,
big brother, father, and the fact that he ends up being a coach. Like I love the detail that Steve is the one who stayed in town and is now like connected to the town. That rings true for the guy who was the most popular guy in high school. He's the guy who stays in town, which is like a little bit sad, that story. But in Steve's terms, it's like, no, he's adopted Derek too. You know, like there's just so many little things that are heartwarming. And I was so glad the body count wasn't high. Like once we got up to the end, I was worried like, oh, are they gonna kill the right people? Like, but you know, the Duffer Brothers have said this isn't Game of Thrones. We don't want you to judge our finale based on like how surprising are the kills. That's not what this show is about. So, I liked how sweet it was in the end. And as far as like pairings that I love, you guys mentioned. It's funny that you both mentioned like Steve stuff and Hopper stuff, and I think what we're getting at there is that like David Harbour and Joe Keery are generally like great scene partners, like for whoever they're dealing with. But since we've hinted at it but not really mentioned it, I felt like Nancy and Jonathan had some of the best stuff this season. Their little scene together, their little breakup scene, was so good, and it made me think they don't always use Charlie Heaton that well on the show as Jonathan, but when they give him a moment, they've given him some of the most like heartwarming stuff. He's like, Jonathan is just such a good dude. Like, and when like in season 4, the way he reacted to figuring out his little brother was gay. And then in this season, his thing with Nancy, like letting her go in a sense, like Nancy's this kind of star, you know, and like, I didn't so much like when it felt like they were doing the triangle thing again, but I like the aftermath of that idea that both Steve and Jonathan almost can bond over. Neither one of them was right for Nancy. But Nancy and Jonathan in that last scene they have where they're all talking on the roof of the radio station, there's this little look or two shared between them that just feels so real for that like love that turned into something else. And maybe there's a little spark of something that will always be special with that person, but you know you weren't right for each other. I don't know. I felt like that was incredibly well handled. If I was gonna pick something other than Dustin and Steve or Hopper and Elle, I would say that I thought Jonathan and Nancy had some incredible things. But I'll tell you who else had some great stuff together. I thought Erica and Mr. Clark were super fun this season. I think that
it was fun, man.
Even though they laid it on a little thick with Murray at different points, I think Murray had some great moments, kind of depending on who he was with. But I liked the glee of that character. Like there's that great moment when they're leaving the Upside Down at the end, and Hopper and Murray, just because they speed up and get in front of the kids when they're driving out. And like they chuckle about it and the kids are like assholes. But I just love like little moments like that. I don't know how much of that is written, how much of that is found on the day with actors. But one of the things the Duffers are known for is writing the characters over time based on what they know about these actors and what they can handle and what they can do. So yeah, I thought that was just incredibly well handled in that sense. And
when Joyce cut that head off,
oh, Joyce, I was worried they hadn't
Jesus
given Joyce enough
Christ.
to do. But did you notice they kept framing the shots of her with the axe, and you're like, if she doesn't get to use that axe, then I don't know why they have her shown her with an axe so clearly. But when she comes up and does that, I also loved the cutaways to all the people that Vecna has hurt.
Yes.
And then cutting to the people that cared about those people. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just killed
And
me.
then the kids around watching it. It's
Yeah.
like you fuck with the wrong family.
Yeah. And
I
she doesn't
love
just
that,
mean
man.
her family. She means the whole
Yeah,
group.
the whole-
Yeah.
No, it's great.
Yeah,
It's
it's a
great.
great scene, man.
Mhm.
And I love her relationship with Will. Like, just I don't know, man. I feel like Will has been underappreciated, underused, under something the whole fucking time. I'm like, what is Will gonna fucking do? He's like,
Oh man, this was a great season for Will. I mean, from the
Yeah,
moment at the end
great
of the first
season for
volume
Will.
where he shows his powers to that scene, obviously very divisive, and I'm almost embarrassed for the fandom that so many people had like a straight up homophobic reaction to this show. But that scene where Will comes out to the group to diffuse his fear of not being accepted, I honestly thought that was incredible. Like I thought about how one day I think people are going to talk about that scene as like a scene that gave them comfort. I can't speak to the actual experience of a person who has had to come out to people, but just the notion that those people, like, I've heard people say there were too many people in the room, everyone was too positive, whatever. I love that he came out to the whole
Jesus
group.
Christ.
I love that Murray
too.
and Mr. Clark and people that don't need to be there were there. And I love, it's like, oh yeah, they've spent 5 seasons showing us why these people would be together and would listen with love to this guy who is
sure.
pouring his heart out. I thought that was incredibly moving. And yeah, Noah Schnapp was kind of the MVP of the season in some ways. Like, he got some great stuff to do.
Yeah.
So, and then of course that final scene with Mike talking where they wrap up their D&D campaign, and then Mike talks about everybody's future, and he's talking about their character, but we see a little headcanon. Like, I don't think any of that stuff is necessarily stuff that actually happened or is going to happen, but we believe it feels right when we see like what Max and Lucas's future might be and what Dustin's future might be. And then the possibility of what's going on with 11, all that stuff was just so like it really killed me.
Broke me in two, man.
Yeah. And then the icing on the cake is the new group of kids coming down to start their story. So like that final episode gave us a new group of 11-year-olds, kids graduating high school, kids who are entering the post-college era, and people in their 50s who are refinding love. It gave us all of those levels. As a person in my early 50s, I can say they nailed something about each one of those levels. And I think about the end of childhood sometimes because my son's about to turn 18. But I mean, this show, I feel like, really nailed something about that bittersweet quality of growing up. And they found so many different ways to like we've said, to make me personally, they were trying to make me cry several times, and they did.
Yeah. Man, this is a very off-subject thing, but on-subject thing. During Thanksgiving, I had to help my stepdad get his daughter to another part of North Carolina. So we were like planning all this stuff. And I got super emotional. I think I may have told you this story.
I think you did talk about this a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, so we're like getting everything done, and we get her off, and I'm talking to him, and I'm like, man, you did everything that you could do to get her to where you're going, to where she's going. And I could see that in his face, he needed to hear that as much as I needed to say it.
Mm-hmm.
It was the first time I saw a person his age frantic about getting just his adult child just ready for another thing. And you just realize that stuff doesn't change, man. And we're a lot more connected than I thought. I didn't think that he would ever value something with somebody much younger than him, you know, and put about the effort that he put in, but I could see that he was putting in some effort. Just like my mom gave me a compliment pretty recently about how much effort I try to put into making my daughter's experiences with me fun.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I've noticed that you
Yeah.
try to make it really fun for her. Like, yeah, we all do. That's what we want, man. We think about all these like core memories of like fun that we had when we were kids, and we try to replicate it or even make it better. And
Yeah, my
and
mom one time, just as a quick aside to me, said,
sure.
John, you're such a hands-on dad. And I mean, hearing that from my mom, like it's kind of what you're saying. You don't necessarily know that you need to hear that kind of thing, but when someone has the heart to say it to you, it has an impact. And I think you're right. Like those connections. I mean, again, that's what I mean when I say this show really spoke to me about like the end of childhood and what it means to be the adult who's sending someone off and saying like, there's nothing tying us down anymore. Let's get hitched and move to Montauk, like that's just as meaningful to me as this group of 20 somethings standing on a radio station saying, let's get together every month. And they're not going to. That's not going to happen, but they need to tell themselves.
That's what you say, yeah.
Right, yeah. It's so sad and beautiful in a way.
You didn't think they were going to?
I think they do it maybe once or twice, but I don't think they get together every month.
Man.
I don't think they do.
Jesus,
dude. That's the thing you do. We've all had some version of that, right?
You guys said that made me so fucking sad just now.
Totally relate to that. Like, just, what I mean? Like, you want to say that, and sometimes you catch up, sometimes you'll see each other, but it's never the intent that you had. It's always what you can make happen still, because life just happens. And
100%.
It's like, but yeah, no,
You're
that scene was great. Like them kind of committing to it, and having the optimism to think that would be that'd be possible is what they need to end that group with. And I think that's what it does. And they're the next, the older ones kind of going into that phase of their lives. And it's, that stuff all is so good. Cause it's like, like John, you have, like these brackets of ages, entering into a phase with Holly and her friends, and, our core 4 or 5, going into like, outside of high school, college, like that's a whole different experience. And then, the ones that are in college or leaving college or not doing, it's cool to show like the kind of prep mentally that they're doing for these things, for who they are right then and there. And, we can watch it and be like, well, it's relatable on many different levels. Some are going into a feeling, an experience, and some are going out and into the next one. It's like that stuff all works so well in that ending piece, to see all those characters have to have a couple moments like that. But yeah, like all those kind of bookend moments of the series just I thought worked really well. The Enzos and like, the books going on the character books going on the shelves.
The binders on the shelf was killing me, yeah.
Those binders and the mom calling down for the dinner, and even the shot opening with the sprinklers in the front yard, and like, that stuff is a little, some people would, kind of scoff at that, but I mean, that works so well on me, as a story.
We rolled right into watching the first episode right after we watched the finale, because we just had to watch that mirror, that bookend of that scene. Yeah.
It's just, it's great, man. It's just a really special thing to experience. And yeah, man, happy to have it and that we got to talk about it. It's a special show.
Yeah, I guess as a final note, I'll just say I loved Dustin doing the thing at graduation that Eddie said he would
do. Yeah,
that Eddie said, if I graduate, I'm going to yank that diploma from Principal Higgins and I'm going to flip him off and then I'm going to run like hell. And like the fact that when I realized that's kind of what Dustin was doing, I thought that was so great. But the other thing about that was just a great comic note was when he brings up D&D and all the boys are like, yep. And then it cuts to Hopper and he goes, Jesus Christ. Like every time they brought up D&D, he was like, fuck this.
Nerds. I love that about Hopper, man. He's such a likable character in this show, man.
Yeah. The grump, like, the total like curmudgeon. But honestly, a guy who I feel like at the end has some little form of hope and happiness. Do I think that character earned that fresh start that they're hinting at the end? Like, I loved that, and I love that for Joyce too. Yeah. Like it really, again, all that stuff felt just right. It just really meant a lot. And I think seeing how sweet the Duffers wanted to be, to their characters. I mean, sometimes that can be a little, like you were saying, Steve, it can be a little sappy or it can kind of curdle into something that doesn't feel genuine. But I feel like there was nothing but sincerity in the way they handled that stuff. And I think that's what made the nostalgia or the derivativeness or the whatever people want to say about this show, that like what made it work was that they sincerely love these characters. I love when I can feel that.
Totally. No, absolutely love them all. It's great. Great show.
We did it.
You did it, guys.
Ronald's computer didn't die.
Alive.
Yeah,
It's still
stuck with us. Yay. Let's see. Schmovie.com is the website. You can go there to listen to the pod, listen to past episodes, subscribe to it. YouTube is also out there for you. YouTube.com/Movie Podcast. If you want to watch it, listen to it. Small bites, big bites. It's all there. Are we going to do our best of top list next episode? Was that the plan, or what are we doing for the next week's episode, John?
Let's give ourselves another week.
Okay.
So 2 weeks from now, we will do our best of the year. And then next week we will do, I don't know, we'll just do whatever. We'll figure it out.
Other stuff.
Other stuff.
Did you guys
sure that other things will transpire?
What's that? Oh, yeah.
I'm pretty sure other things will transpire in the next 2 weeks.
Just got to try to watch as much as we can, right?
Yeah. I got to jam a lot of movies into my eyes socket.
Just be careful. Don't hurt yourself.
That sounds dangerous.
It does sound dangerous.
All right, cool. On that note, thank you so much for listening. As always, you've made our day. Thanks.
Bye.
Man, I gotta tell you, man, watching that in the theater and that music kicking in, was pretty magical, dude. Like, it was kind of surreal, like the Netflix logo coming up and going into the rainbow, and you're like, I'm in a theater.
Yeah,
right.
Like they're like they put shit in theaters, I know, but it's like not in the AMC's, not in the Regals, like not in like every fucking theater that was showing this finale, like. And they're like, it's clearly these people have Netflix subscriptions and they're choosing to pay and go see a movie in the theater because it's Stranger Things.
The Vecna scene where he was talking to them and his voice moved around the room, did that happen in the theater?
Yes.
Oh my God. Like, I was like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, the scene, the one I'm thinking of was with Hopper. I don't know, which one are you talking about?
I think it's the one with Hopper.
Yeah, when he's like tricking him. And like you hear the voice going around the room. Yeah, no, totally. Like the mix was there for sure.
Oh my God. I'm so glad that
it was cool. It was cool, man. And
what was the biggest moment? Like, what would you say was the biggest gasp or the moment where you felt like, oh shit, the crowd just lost their shit? Whether it was excitement or you know what I mean? Like whatever it was.
I don't know. The ones that stood out was Steve falling off the tower.
I figured that would be big.
That
going to black at that moment, the Duffers knew exactly what they were doing.
Yeah, that was a big collective gasp. I'm trying to think comedically, like Dustin's mom, Derek.
Oh, I love Dustin's mom's bit.
Dustin's mom coming in, Derek like telling him like when they get into the cave, and Derek like says, "Suck my big fat one" or whatever he says. Like that was awesome. Like that got a big crowd thing. I think also like the big fight, like when Elle is there and she like jumps up in the air, like that shot, like as she's like going through the air.
That was like something out of anime or something like
really
that.
Was.
The way that was framed and the way she moved,
that like matte. It looked like a poster or something you needed. That was a pretty big reaction. And honestly, again, like the Will scene when he stops Vecna from grabbing Elle, like when she thinks she's got him, and like it zooms out into his white eye, and he's like, and he's doing the shit with his hand, like breaking his arm and shit. Like that got a big. I wish I could have seen the sorcerer scene from episode 4 in a theater.
I bet, yeah,
because that's like maybe a series high.
Yeah,
That's a top 5 episode. That's like a top 5 scene of the entire series, probably.
Yeah.
But there was some reaction, some version of that reaction was when Will kind of comes back in and they're doing it together. Like that was pretty fucking cool. Like it was awesome.
On that tip, what I loved too, because one of the things I love a rattled villain. I love when a villain is like pissed off and upset that their shit's not working. And I love the way that what's the guy who plays Henry Creel? Jamie.
Campbell Bower or something
Jamie
like that?
Campbell Bower. I mean, he was incredible. Like
He's so
He
good.
was.
but the way he played that, like, pissed off, you're fucking with my plan kind of attitude from the moment. And this is what I was getting at. I love when Elle just shows up and just throws him out the window and like breaks the you know, his hold over the kids at the table.
Thing, yeah.
I just thought that was I love when something happens that's like, oh, you think this fight scene's going to build? No, 11 shows up and the first attack is a brutal blow.
Yeah.
And he's on his back foot for the whole fight after that. I thought, and then the whole team is ganging up on him. I mean, I just love it when the good guys fuck the bad guy up, and like, I just think I think that feels so good when they earn it. And this is a guy who, like I said, you go back and watch the beginning of the show and realize, oh, whether they knew it at the time or not, we've been dealing with pretty much the same villain this whole time. Yeah. That really built up this sense of like, let's take this asshole down. So, yeah,
that big spider thing,
so good.
Oh, I loved it. I don't normally like spider things because I feel like they overdo spiders as like they're scary, but that was a great design, and the way it went from being the tree to the spider,
opening up,
incredible.
It was crazy. He was there the whole time.
Mm-hmm. And it looked so good. Steve, did that look pretty great on the?
It looked amazing,
screen?
Honestly. Like when it was happening, because Aaron and I were talking about this like last week watching the other set of episodes. I was like, yo, if that thing stands up, because I literally was like, because I was watching a video where they're like, it's on one of the posters in season 1, like in one of their rooms or something. Okay. And I was like, that thing looks like an upside down or like a curled up spider or something, you know, like when they die and they're on their back. Yeah. You know? And it's like,
I love how spiders do that. Like, you thought I wasn't creepy enough just as a spider.
Yes.
When I die, I'm going to curl up.
Yes.